Language is the most unique and important feature of human beings. It is an essential part of our everyday lives. Language is a fascinating and complex process we use to communicate our thoughts, feelings, and ideas to the people and world around us. It also allows us to learn and understand our world. Much of the research on the brain mechanisms behind language comes from studying patients with language deficits. Two of the most famous and revolutionary cases were discovered by Paul Broca and Carl Wernicke. Their patients presented themselves with aphasias. Aphasia is a language disorder resulting from damage to one or more language regions of the brain. Based on these patients' symptoms and the damage found in their brains, it was inferred that there are specialized areas in our brains that are responsible for producing and comprehending speech. Since this, research has come a long way in identifying multiple different regions responsible for language processing. All of this has come through studying aphasia and its presentation in individuals. Aphasia deprives an individual of the ability to read and write. It occurs suddenly, subsequently following a stroke or head injury, however, can also develop at a slower pace. It is unknown if aphasia causes a person to a complete loss of that brain structure, or if it creates difficulty in the access and utilizing of language. Conduction aphasia manifests as difficulty repeating words and sentences regardless of if they possess the understanding of the words and are fluent in them, while anomic aphasia has individuals struggle to name objects despite familiarity with them and their purpose. Aphasia due to transient ischemic attacks, or TSI, where blood flow to the brain is temporarily interrupted, however, is restored rapidly. The language abilities returned in a few hours or days. One example of this kind of temporary aphasia is found in the case of Game of Thrones actor Emilia Clarke. She suffered an aneurysm, and after her surgery, she developed temporary aphasia. She was unable to remember her name. She recalls her experience in an essay in The New Yorker. "My full name is Amelia Isabel Euphemia Rose Clarke, but now I couldn't remember it. Instead, nonsense words tumbled out of my mouth, and I went into a blind panic. I had never experienced fear like that, a sense of doom closing in. I could see my life ahead and it wasn't worth living. I'm an actor. I need to remember my lines. Now I couldn't recall my name." Amelia Clarke, 2019. Aphasia is associated with a significantly greater negative impact on an individual's quality of life in comparison to other diseases or medical conditions. This is because communication is a crucial part of our lives, and the sudden loss of this ability creates anxiety. Having to deal with not being able to speak or comprehend speech every day can be frustrating and a source of chronic stress. The severity of aphasia is conducted on a scale, and high or low severity plays a crucial role in the prediction of functional autonomy, which can make recovery more complex. Broca's aphasia originates from damage to the front portion of the language dominant side of the brain. This is non-fluent aphasia, and the damage predominantly affects the frontal lobe. This area was found to be involved in the production of speech. Paul Broca discovered this in his patients who had speech production deficits, one of whom could only say one word, 10, and the other could produce up to 5. They had good language comprehension. After examining their brains, both had lesions to the same brain area, the posterior inferior frontal gyrus. This is what helps us to produce language. Wernicke's aphasia is the most common type of fluent aphasia that is caused by damage to the Wernicke's area of the temporal lobe, the brain's auditory processor. People with this type of aphasia speak in long, complete sentences that are often unintelligible, with mixed up words and even made up words. The Wernicke's area was first discovered in 1874 by Carl Wernicke, a German neurologist. It receives information from the auditory cortex and assigns words meanings, hence not using words properly when it is damaged. Its purpose is to conduct a critical form of speech production called phonological retrieval, in which phonemes, units of phonetic sound, are represented mentally in their order. The treatments for aphasia center around an important concept called neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to create new neural pathways through learning. A study by Crossan displayed that repetition of behaviors in higher intensity schedules of treatment induced neuroplasticity in animal model rehabilitation studies. It suggests repetition is crucial to facilitate long-term changes after aphasia treatment. Sufficient repetition, saturated levels of practice opportunities, and intensive opportunities to produce desired language-based behaviors. This treatment finding not only benefits aphasia patients, it also helps to further our understanding of how we can change and train our brains even when there is damage present. This research is beneficial in the real world to help people learn and to help older adults in regenerating or enhancing their cognitive abilities. Aphasia is an incredibly revolutionary finding in the neuroscience of language. This language deficit has given us an abundance of insight into the workings of the brain. Broca and Wernicke's discoveries have led to discussions on localization of function and further research in brain mechanisms involved in language. The research on aphasia treatments has also provided an application of neuroplasticity and how it can help gain cognitive abilities back even when there is damage present.